to shoot my sister in the head in front of her two children, my mother, and my two handicapped brothers, who was also in the house. And he sit and tell you he don't remember. Instead of saying, I would like to apologize to the family for what I've done to them. He hasn't said that one time. And all I have to say is no. He can spend the rest of his days where he's at right now.
It is hard to watch him smirking as the victim speaks so powerfully. We're going to jump in and watch this commutation hearing, and I'll unpack it with what details we have at the
You're seeking the confirmation of your sentence. You were sentenced in March 1980 in Caddo Parish for a first-degree murder conviction. You received a life sentence. Mr. King, is that information correct?
Correct.
All right, Mrs. Jackson.
Good afternoon, Mr. King. My name is Bonnie Jackson, and I'll be leading off questions today. How are you doing right now?
I'm blessed.
Okay. How old are you?
69.
All right. And how long have you been incarcerated?
43 years.
23 years. So you were about 26, 27 when you committed this crime?
26.
And you were in a relationship with the victim, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long had you been in a relationship with her?
About 5 years.
And you all live together?
Yes, ma'am.
You all have children together?
No, ma'am.
Because she had children, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Two? She had two children?
Boy and girl.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what happened the day that the victim was killed.
If it would please the board, I would like to go back to the trial.
I don't want to go back. No, I don't want to go back to the trial. I want to go back to February 14th. I'm sorry, November 24th, 1978.
The reason why I said I want to go back to trial, because the fact is, it would explain, open the door, understand where you understand me about the trial procedures.
I don't care about the trial proceeding. I care about what happened at that house on November the 24th of 1978 when Miss Kellum lost her life. You were there.
I explain to you this way. I didn't take a stand on my behalf in my defense. Therefore, I don't know what happened. What I say here today would be only hearsay. I can only tell you what I read in the transcript and what I heard from the testimony of the witness.
And that's because you weren't there when it happened?
Yes, I was there.
Okay,
that's why I wanted to go back to the procedure, because the fact is, the testimony of the witness, explain why I didn't take the stand on my defense. I was out of it. I don't know what happened.
What do you mean you were out of it, Mr.
I was on drugs.
Kind of drugs?
I take full responsibility.
I don't want to hear that, because you're not taking full responsibility. What kind of drugs were you using that night?
Pre-state and anonymous. It's in the transcript. Pre-states and anonymous. Those are dyke pills.
Okay, tell me I'm having a hard time understanding. What were you taking that night?
Pre-stakes and ornament. Those are both diet medications
Why were you taking that?
because I felt like I was overweight and I was dieting.
Okay. So you hadn't been out drinking and using drugs that night,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? What were you drinking?
Hard liquor, beer,
Right?
whiskey.
All right. How much? Do you remember about how much you had to drink?
No, ma'am. I have been drinking all day.
So you were intoxicated when this crime happened. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall coming to Miss Kellum's house and you all getting into an argument and her asking you to leave?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And you don't remember that the police were called and the police told you to leave the house and go and stay somewhere else for the night until things cool off?
No, ma'am.
You don't remember coming back to the house later and started arguing with Miss Kellum again?
No, ma'am. I don't remember that.
And you don't remember Miss Kellum telling you to give her the keys to her house, give her back the keys to her house that you had?
No, ma'am.
You don't remember throwing the keys from your key ring in her lap and then firing 3 shots at Miss Kellum at close range and
No,
then
ma'am.
walking out of the residence?
No, ma'am. I don't remember that.
I remember her 2 children, her 10-year-old and 12-year-old children being present in the room when their mother was shot and killed.
No, ma'am.
All right. Let's talk about your disciplinary record. You've had 43 write-ups, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm showing that the last ones were in 2001, a number of years ago, but you got 2 in 2001. A Rule 28, I'm sorry, you get a contraband in 2001?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that for?
Smoking in the dungeon.
Oh, what?
Ma'am.
What were you smoking?
Bugler, cigarette.
All right. And did you remember getting a Rule 28 and a Rule 3?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know. Tell me what that was about.
That was aggravated work offense and aggravated disobedience.
You do, or what didn't you do what you were supposed to do?
Ma'am,
Why did you get written up? What did you do?
I had aggravated disobedience and aggravated work offense.
What caused you to get those write-ups?
Ma'am,
What caused you to get those write-ups?
I was told to do something and I didn't do it.
Well, you remember what you were told to do?
No, ma'am.
You remember why you didn't do it?
No, ma'am. I know I got written up for it.
Huh? Do you have any history of mental health problems?
No, ma'am.
So what kind of programs have you participated in since you've been incarcerated in the last 30 plus years?
Most all the programs that he gave here.
Okay. Well, tell me one tell me some in particular that you took that you think were most helpful for you.
I would have to say all of them because all of them had some valuable information that was valuable to me. Because the fact is, understand, when I took them, they were beneficial. But one in particular that stuck with me was thinking for a change.
All right, tell us about that.
Well, thinking for change, understand what it did. It opened my eyes to my way of living. It learned me how to think before I act. It also helped me to be a better listener, and it also helped me to recognize what's being said and how it's being said in order to avoid conflict.
Well, back when you shot Miss Pelham, do you think you thought before you acted?
I don't remember what happened, Miss Jackson.
I see you've taken some carpentry,
Yes, ma'am.
body fender repair, culinary, CPR. What do you have a job at the prison right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Two jobs.
I work in the kitchen.
And I'm sorry, how long have you been in the kitchen?
Well, as I had my my heart, I had triple bypass in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the kitchen since 2021. I had a bypass. I had triple bypass. Ma'am,
What did you do before you were in the kitchen?
I worked in the trash. I pushed the camp trash out the camp.
Okay. And how long did you do that?
For about 3 years.
Are you a trustee?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been a trustee?
Over 30 years.
What level of trustee are you right now?
Ma'am?
What level of trustee are you right now?
A.
Okay, and how long have you been a Class A trustee?
Since 93.
Okay. You have some children, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
I have three children. I have 2 boys and 1 girl.
Okay. Are you in contact with those children?
Yes, ma'am.
Uh,
Yes, ma'am.
all 3 of them?
Yes, ma'am.
And how often do you have contact with them?
I talk to my son and my daughter every Saturday.
Right. What about the third child?
I talk to him occasionally on Saturdays. He'd be out of town a lot.
If you were to be successful, what's your transition plan?
I plan to go out and live as a law-abiding citizen.
Not a plan.
Ma'am, my
Not a
plan?
plan.
You said my plan, what am I planning to do?
Huh?
I got a job as teaching student driving education
Where do you have a job teaching driver's education?
with my cousin, one of my relatives.
And where does this cousin or relative live?
In Shreveport.
And is that where you would live if you were granted release?
No, ma'am, I wouldn't live, no, ma'am. I'll probably live in Baton Rouge.
Well, how you gonna live in Baton Rouge and have a job teaching drivers ed in Shreveport?
Because I won't be doing it very long.
Well, what do you plan to do in Baton Rouge?
find me a place to live.
You don't have a place to live in Baton Rouge?
No, ma'am, not right off.
Then why would you come to Baton Rouge?
Well, because Gary told me that he was gonna let me stay there for about 6 months,
Who's Gary?
over the project, over the parole project. And Andrew, I'm sorry.
So you've been accepted by the parole project?
If they talk to me
Okay, when did they talk to you?
about 3 months ago.
Okay. And you haven't heard back from them?
No, ma'am.
Warren, what can you tell us about Mr. King?
About me?
Yeah, he's talking to me now, not you.
Oh,
Talking to me. I can tell you that the classes that you said, he did complete all those. He's a low tiger risk. He also did Malachi's dad. He got his GED. And he also took victim awareness. That's about it. He is a minimum, class A trustee.
I thank you, Warren Amber, I appreciate the input. If not, then that's all I have. Thank you.
We'd like to hear from, Mr. King, we'll hear from your brother, Mr. Thomas King at this time. Mr. Thomas? I'm sorry, apparently he was never able to connect to audio, but the record will reflect that your brother Thomas King is in favor, and I believe there's a residence agreement in the packet in Shreveport with your brother. So we'll hear from the opposition. Could we hear from Alicia Christie now?
Hello. Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Well, what I want to say is I was 10 years old when this happened and can tell you everything that happened that night, from the time where Michael Keene was walking around the outside of our home, walking around the home, basically terrorizing us, walking around, hitting on the windows and, screaming through the windows. And me and my mom, my grandmother, my brother, and my little cousin Kenny was a baby. He was also at the house that time. The next thing I remember is him coming through the back door and shooting. I was sitting between my mother's legs on the floor. She was sitting in a chair, and he shot through the back door and hit her. And she kind of leaned forward as if to protect me. And he ran out the back door. There was a lot of history of violence. I remember growing up and me and my brother hiding in a room to kind of get away from the violence, seeing and hearing my mother get beaten on. And, this whole incident, has affected me and my brother's entire life. It's something, as a victim, a child of the victim, I'm a victim as well. There's a lot of things that I did not get to experience having my mother in my life, that my child does not experience having a grandmother in his life. All the big milestones in my life, she was not there. The same regard that he is seeking from this, did not get to experience having my mother in my life, that my child does not experience having a grandmother in his life.
Must have two devices going at the same time.
No, I only have one device. On my screen, it's showing Thomas King,
Brother.
and it's showing me in the corner. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I only have one device activated.
Okay, I think Mr. Thomas King was able to connect. I think we were hearing him. We'll hear from him in just a moment. If you want.
No, I only have one. Hello?
Mr. King, can we get you to mute your device? We'll call on you in a moment. Go ahead, Van.
Okay, so in between all that time, I'm 54 years old now, and I've had several years of counseling. I suffer from anxiety and depression. So it's a lifelong trauma for me, and I feel like the pardon that he's seeking, he did not grant my family a pardon. He did not grant my mother a chance to live her life. Therefore, he took a part of my life that I can never get back, a void that can never be filled by anybody that's in my life. That whole night was horrific in every sense of the word. I don't understand his seeking pardon. I can't even register that in my mind because my mother never had an opportunity to live, from that day forward. And I can't even express adequately enough what that took from my life, what that took from my family's life, my grandmother's life.
Do you have someone else who's with you in the room that wants to also speak?
Yes, this is my husband.
Yes. Well, we've been married for 28 years and dated for 2, so almost 30 years we've been in each other's life. I've seen the trauma over the years. Thanksgiving, for example, is a time that you normally celebrate. There's no such thing as a Thanksgiving celebration in our home, because that's like a time of remembrance. It's the saddest time of the year for us. So I'm here as a support system, and I've seen her suffer over the years. I cannot fathom the depth of what she endured then and is still going through. She been doing counseling. I took her to her appointments. I've seen her left in tears for the same for what Mr. King robbed her of. So I support her. He gave up his right to walk freely in society, he gave up that right years ago when he made that decision to execute my wife's mother. So to walk freely, to coexist amongst regular, ordinarily everyday people, he gave up that right a long time ago. He do not deserve to walk out of that prison.
Yes, sir. Thank You give us your name for the record, please.
My name is Edgar Christie.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have Mr. Sheldon Butler joining us?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
How y'all doing this morning? My name is Sheldon Butler for the records. I guess I want to say to you, Mr. King, first of all, I listened to what you had to say. I heard
Mr.
about your
Butler,
kids.
please address your remarks to the board, not to Mr. King, please.
Okay. Well, I go back to the night that everything happened. I've been watching my mother get hit, beat. He put in the hospital. She had a patch on her eye one time. He busted her eye open. He said he don't remember a lot of things, and I don't understand why he say he don't remember things, because he did a lot of things before that time that he should remember, because he's a very abusive man. And my mama, because I was the oldest, my grandmother used to make me go over there to her, hoping that he wouldn't do what he did, which would beat my mama or hit my mama or take her off somewhere and bring her back, and she messed up. He done burnt her. He done broke her arm. He done busted in her head. You did all that way before you killed her, Michael. You did all of that. I mean, excuse me, the boy. He did all of that. He did all of that. And I looked it up to him for a while because that was my mama's boyfriend. So I had to look at to him as a daddy. But one thing he did, he beat my mama. And that made me always feel afraid of him, scared of him. You know what I mean? And then I had to watch out for my baby sister, because that's all my mama had was me and my sister. You know what I'm saying? She used to dress us alike and everything. We wasn't twins, but I just don't understand why you want to get a pardon right now, man. You should want to do the rest of your life where you at. You understand me? You shouldn't
Mr.
want to come
Butler,
out here for
address your remarks to the board.
okay, he shouldn't want to come out here for as I'm concerned. I shouldn't think that he would want to come out here. I didn't even think he would want to be in Louisiana. Now he want to be in Baton Rouge. What's the difference? I don't understand the reason for him, why he did what he did. And then I'm gonna tell you something. The night of the killing, I was sitting in my mother's lap as well, because my grandmother made me and my sister sit between my mama's leg, one in between her leg and one in her lap. My sister was actually in her lap with her head laid on her breast. I was between her legs because my grandmother told me to hold my mother down so she don't get up to go see what he want, because he keep calling, he'll keep stalking her, he'll keep walking around her house until she come outside. And once she come outside, it's over with. My grandmother, 2 years before it happened, my grandmother told my mama, and I remember this clear as day. She said, baby sister, if you don't leave that man, Michael Edward King, alone, he's going to be the death of you. And just as sure as a year, or maybe a year something later, after all these beatings and everything else that went down, my mama sending us next door to stay with she rest in peace now, lady named Nita Hall. We used to have to live in her house for a week or two while my mama healed, because my grandmother and the rest of the people didn't want us to see what my mama looked like. My mama was a church woman going to church. She couldn't even go to church because she was so messed up that people used to come to the house and have mission in our house, church in our house.
Mr. Butler, can you wrap it up for us, sir? Can you wrap it up for us?
Yes, I can. So all I want to say is that I don't feel that you deserve to come home. I hate that your kids got to go through what they're going through, but I'm glad you got somebody to come and see you. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that you have that, but I don't think.
Mr. Butler, thank you. We're going to move on to Mr. Samuel Davis now. Mr. Davis,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yes.
sir.
How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, at the time of the incident, I was in the military. I was in the Navy. I was stationed in the Philippines. I came home from overseas for 30 days. I was at home. Nobody told me any of this was going on with my sister and her boyfriend while I was at home. I believe, and after hearing everything, I knew for a fact my mother told them not to tell me anything. For the simple fact she knew that I wouldn't approve of what was going on in the relationship. So Michael King was completely in control when I was at home. He showed no aggression towards my sister. Not one day out of the 30 days I was home, there was no incident between them. When I got off the plane after 30 days of being in the United States and went back to the Philippines, before I can unpack my luggage, my CO, my CO calls me and tells me my sister has been killed. And would I like to go back to the States? Excuse me. So yes, I came back to the States and we funeralized my sister. What Michael King done to my family, to shoot my sister in the head in front of her two children, my mother, and my two handicapped brothers, who was also in the house. And he sit and tell you he don't remember. Instead of saying, I would like to apologize to the family for what I've done to them. He hasn't said that one time. And all I have to say is no. He can spend the rest of his days where he's at right now. Because it's not good for him to come back to Shreveport, Baton Rouge, New York, California. He needs to stay where he's at. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. King, is there a brief statement you'd like to make to the board before we vote?
Yes, I like to say that I deeply regret all the bad choices I made. I also like to take full responsibility for taking the life of Ms. Audrey Keller. And I am remorseful for the pain and hurt and suffering that I caused the family, my family, and my community.
Yes, sir, thank you. I think that we are prepared to vote. Mrs. Jackson? Oh, I'm sorry, Thomas King, I apologize. We'd like to hear from you.
My name is Thomas King. I'm Michael King's brother. I'm a retired disabled vet from the United States Army at 23 and a half years. Married for 23 years on yesterday. I'm a clergy and preacher for over 35 years. Myself and Michael's entire family are willing to do what we can to support him. We supported him, and I've got a job for him and a place for him to stay. So we sent all that in to the board, and we're just, if he's pardoned, do what we can to get him back in society and that he live a successful life, a productive life. And I understand that he has this landscaping thing on that he honestly knows how to do, and he would be an asset to our family. That we have young men in our family that have lawn services, and that he could teach them how to do landscaping if he's parole. But I'm just saying, it's in your hand. We ask the family, saying, to find it in your heart to have mercy on him and give him a second chance. The society to prove himself. He says he's been a trustee for over 30 years. So it's in your hands, and by the grace of God, we just having to ask you to have mercy on him and give him a second chance.
Yes, sir, Mr. King, we appreciate you joining us today. Now we're prepared to vote. Mrs. Jackson will be voting first.
All right. Mr. King, I'm going to be honest with you. When we started this interview, I really didn't have an opinion on what should be done in your case. I know that you committed a terrible crime, but we see a lot of terrible crime. That's part of our job here is to look at terrible crimes. You have taken some good programs. You've had 43 write-ups, but the last one was over 20 years ago. But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think the programs that you took, I think you were in the programs, but the programs aren't in you. I don't think that, for instance, victim awareness has really reached you. You've taken a lot of faith-based programs. I'm not convinced that those programs have reached you. It really troubles me, given your history with Ms. Kellum and everything that happened on that night, for you to be absolutely unwilling to tell us what happened. You haven't expressed any genuine remorse for your actions. And so for me, I just don't think in the 44 years that you've been incarcerated that much has happened to change who you are as a person. So some people do well in an institutional setting, and I think you're probably one of those people who tend to do well, even though you've had some aggravated disobediences. People tend to do well in a structured environment. And I have concerns about the transition plan. It doesn't seem very stable, and I'm just not ready today. There might be a time in the future, but just for me today, because of the strong victim opposition, because of your lack of accountability, and your transition plan not being very stable, my vote today is to deny.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Roshan.
Mr. King, based upon adamant opposition from the victim's children and evidence that domestic abuse was occurring in the relationship, and you did not mention that one time, opposition from the VA's office and law enforcement opposition, my vote is the same as Ms. Jackson.
Thank you. Mr. Mirabella.
Thank you. Mr. King, you've served a lot of time in prison. You've taken a lot of programs. I'm willing to take a chance on you. My vote today would be to commute your sentence to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility. That'd be my vote.
Mr. Freeman.
King, you have taken a bunch of good programs. You've had a good disciplinary record since 2001. And as Mr. Barabella stated, you served 44 years of your sentence. I also vote to grant commute your sentence to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. King. I'm concerned today about the history of domestic violence. You have not acknowledged that today throughout the interview process. I do believe you have some work to do. I appreciate the positive remarks from Warden Ambo and the facility and that which is in the record. But for me, my vote today is to deny your request for clemency. So today, sir, you've received 2 favorable votes, but you've received 3 votes to deny your application. So today, your application's been denied. Good luck to you.
Yeah, I want to thank all y'all too. Appreciate you.
We don't have information on this. I'm just going to go off the cusp, right? The victim's impact speech was so powerful, not even Miss Renata said, wrap it up. And he's leaving just this emotional, powerful statement. And you look over and he's smiling. He's smiling at the warden as if, and it's like, you want to come in here with the defense of, I can't remember anything. I have no recollection. I'm innocent. And to show no emotion, but on the contrary, it was as if to show, and man, obviously glad that he was denied. It's for someone to go with a mother in front of her kids, and you hear that the 2 disabled kids, and they have to witness him take her life. It just takes a certain type of monster to do that. And all these years later, he still looks and acts like the same monster. You never get used to it. There are people that are they don't have the ability to empathize. They can't even fake it. And you just see the pain of the victims. I don't have much else to add. That we can move to the next hearing.
I'm going to read some identifying information into the record. I'm going to ask you to confirm that information, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Jackson. Your case has been assigned to her this afternoon. She'll take the lead on it, and we'll hear from Warden Falvey. And then we also have joining us by Zoom a representative of the victim's family, Mr. Mark Bajeron, who will be speaking in opposition at the appropriate time. We'll ask him to do that. At the very end, you'll be allowed to make a statement if you'd like before we vote. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you are Michael Withers, DOC number 292464. You're classified as a second felony offender. You're here seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in Calcasieu Parish, December 1999, to life for a second-degree murder conviction. Mr. Withers, is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson?
Hi, Mr. Withers, my name is Bonnie Jackson. Your case has been assigned to me and started the election. Do you have vision problems? Is that why you're wearing the dark glasses?
I just came on through surgery. Cataract had took my right eye, and they was taking my left eye, and they gave me a laser, which called them up on my eye to lift the cataract and put a lens on both of my eyes. And the light.
Do you have vision in both eyes now?
Yes, ma'am. Got a lens on both of my eyes.
Okay, all right, well, good. You're 65 years old, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much time have you actually served on this charge?
24 years. It'll be 24 this year.
Okay. I want to start by asking you to tell us, as honestly as you can, what happened in this case.
Well, I was going out there looking for drugs. Got smoking drugs, and one thing led to another, and I got paranoid.
And when you say one thing led to another, that's
got
a little vague.
We got to arguing about, going to get some more, and I didn't want to go. Want them to get out.
And then what?
Got to try to pull them out of my vehicle, and got to struggling.
And then what did you do?
Got paranoid, and got scared, and felt a weapon. I just got scared.
What do you mean you felt a weapon?
While we was tussling, I felt they had a weapon too.
Well, let's back. Did you know the victim prior to the night that killed?
No, ma'am, not at that time, no, ma'am. I met him on a way.
How did you come in contact with the victim?
Going to look for drugs.
Well, what does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Well, going right around, this other person that was with me brought me over there.
Over where?
To the house of where the victim was.
Okay, and what happened when you got to the house?
They was on the phone. They said they had called the place for me to get the weed or whatever I wanted, and that person that was going to take me over there, show me where it's at.
What kind of drugs were you looking for?
I was looking for some weed, but we were smoking crack cocaine on the way going. We were smoking crack.
When you say we, who are you referring to?
Everybody that was in the room, even the victim.
And how is it then that you and this particular lady need to go and look for more drugs?
Well, the victim know where it was, and he said we're gonna show me, and so I said okay. But when on the way going, I started feeling sick, and we got to arguing. I said I wasn't going no more.
And she was shot twice, once in the head and once in the stomach. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do after you shot her?
Oh, I just started riding and crying and just went to by my house and tried to.
Stop talking.
Ma'am.
Did you shoot her inside or outside the vehicle?
Outside.
And you shot her twice, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you left her lying in a ditch by the road?
Yes, ma'am.
And after you left the scene, where did you go?
I just started riding around because I didn't know where to go. I was just out of my mind. I couldn't think at the time. And then I went and tried to find my wife.
And where did you find it? I mean,
she was at the babysitter.
Go ahead.
She was at the babysitter, and I went by there, and I started telling her what was happening.
You told her you shot and
yeah, and
killed.
Ma'am?
Yeah, you told your wife that you had shot this lady twice?
I told her I had shot this person. I said, look, it just got out of hand.
And then what happened?
And then next thing I know, we went to the house, and the babysitter, the next morning, the cops came to the house to check us.
So you told your wife that you had shot someone in the presence of the babysitter, and the babysitter called the police?
Yes, ma'am.
But you or your wife did not call police, is that correct?
No, she was trying to make sense of what I was talking about.
Now, I see that you had a prior conviction for distribution of cocaine and distribution of marijuana. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
Oh, back in the 80s, I think 89, something like that.
I was looking at your rap sheet and I saw an entry on your rap sheet. Maybe you can give us some information about that. But in 1986, there was a entry on your rap sheet saying that there was a warrant for you for murder out of the Houston Police Department. What can you tell us about?
Well, I was over there working over there. I had went over there looking for a job, and I had ended up getting one at a Whataburger, and I had got me an apartment. And this guy, he didn't have nowhere to stay, and I would let him go by there and stay while I go work. And then at the time, I just decided I wanted to go home. I think my daddy was about to, something was going on with the property or something that my daddy had passed away, I think. And he was gonna give me a ride. He said he'll give me a ride. But when he brought me home, kind of found out later on, the detectives came and talked to my sister. And they was asking me questions about it. And I told him I didn't know nothing about it. He hadn't told me nothing, what happened. So he said, okay, would you ride back to Houston with us? And let us know what's going on. So I did that. And when I went back, they said they found a guy. And they gave me a bus ticket back home. Who did the crime?
Okay, I'm totally confused. They found what guy?
The guy that did the crime or the murder, whatever went on with in Houston. And they let me go. They kept me there for a good little while.
Well, let's talk about the last 23 plus years.
Ma'am?
Let's talk about your time spent in prison.
What
kind of programs have you taken since being in prison, Mr. Withers?
Substance abuse, 100
Tell me
hours.
about, stop talking. What kind of substance abuse program did you participate in?
The substance abuse is dealing with your problem in your drugs and your addiction.
Okay, did it have a name?
But they call it substance abuse. I mean, it's dealing with the drugs. That's all I did. They told me what it was, substance abuse. And then they had another one, the 100 hours.
Stop talking. When did you have that substance abuse class? How long ago was that?
Maybe a few years back. I got the certificates, but I left them on the outside right here.
Did you take Living in Balance? Does that sound familiar?
Just doing the way, yes, ma'am. But I took a survival kit too. They call it survival.
What is that about?
A survival kit is cage your rage. If you get angry and you learn how to control it.
Stop talking. You're claiming that this murder happened because of drug use and abuse. I'm trying to figure out what you've done to address your substance abuse issues.
I took substance abuse.
Else. Well, first of all, I'm trying to figure out what kind of substance abuse programs did you take and what you got out of those programs.
Oh, I've got a lot, ma'am. I rehabilitated myself and I took the substance abuse. They teach you about that in 100 hours. 100 hours.
Okay, I don't want just a list of classes. People sit in classes all the time. Don't get a thing out of them. And if you can't tell me anything you've gotten out of the classes, then just taking them doesn't mean very much to me. So I'd like for you to tell me what you got out of your substance abuse classes.
I got out of it about maintaining my sanity, without doing drugs, have respect.
I've talked. That's easy to say. That's easy to say. What specifically did they teach you that you could use to help maintain your sobriety?
in other words, to try to do other things in my life that I needed as possible. And go to church or find somebody that went through certain things that can keep me straight with positive decisions.
I show in 2008, you took a living in balance one, but that's a two-part program, and I don't see that you ever took phase two.
That's right.
And why didn't you take both parts of living in balance?
I don't know because it didn't come up. They didn't bring me there. I guess I don't know what happened.
Tell me about anger management. What did you get out of anger management?
To control my anger when it's certain things that arise, or like somebody come at me with want to fight, or we get into an argument. I learn how to control my anger.
I mean, what did they teach you about how to control your anger?
They take a few breaths and back up and take a few breaths, maybe count a little bit to myself and use calm words. In other words, for one night the confrontation of the argument.
I see that you've only had 5 write-ups, but the last one was in 2006. Do you remember what that was for?
There was some clothes I had left on hanging on the bed when I went out for the field. I didn't know, I had forgot I ran out there because you had to be in the line up to go out in the field. And I left some clothes hanging on the bed.
Did you ever get written up for attempting to escape?
No, ma'am.
I thought I saw that on your record. I could be wrong, though. Any other programs you've taken?
Well, not that I know about. I mean, everything else, I just took the Cairo seminars and Islam. I studied Islam.
Okay, and what'd you get out of that?
To balance my character, to maintain control, have respect, and accept the rules.
What's your current job at the prison, Mr. Withers?
Working in the E building at Camp D for the wardens and doing the walk.
What do you do for them?
I keep the grounds up. Anything they wanted me to do around there, or take care of the inside of the E building.
Okay. I saw you had done tier walker training. Are you a tier walker?
No, ma'am, not no more.
Okay.
I used
when were you a tier walker?
Wow. Maybe around 2008, somewhere around up in there. It's been a while back.
Okay. Are you a trustee?
Yes, ma'am, Class A.
How long have you been a Class A trustee?
Going on 9 years now.
Warren, what can you tell us about Mr. Withers?
He has, as far as his trustee status, he attained minimum C back in March of 11, then worked his way up to a min B in 2015, and then a min A since June of 18. He has maintained housing going back as far as looking Camp D. going back as far as like 2008, 2009, he stayed at Camp D. He's maintained a job as a yard orderly, as well as attending a GED. Let me see if there's anything else. I did find in looking while you guys were discussing about his programming, and we found the certificate for the first phase of his substance abuse, but did not find the certificate for the second. And I apologize if you heard papers rustling. That was me trying to get through this record to look for, but I can't find it as of now. But we don't have anything else to back it up. Other than that, again, 5 write-ups since he's been with us back. First one from 2000, and then the last one, November of 2006.
All right. Is there anything in his jacket about an attempted escape? Maybe I misread it. I
Not
saw it.
like I said, I've been kind of going through your page by page. I didn't see anything. I'll continue to look, and I can see if I can substantiate that for you.
Right. All right. Mr. Withers.
Yes, ma'am.
If you were successful today, tell us what your transition plan would be. Where would you live? What kind of work would you do? And where's your family support?
I got a job in Lake Charles. Mr. Thomas, he's got a construction. Well, all around work, doing cutting trees and making driveways and cleaning off lots for homes. And that would be my main support. And I'll be staying with my sister at the time while I work.
Where did your sister live?
In Lake Charles.
And she wasn't able to join us today?
No, ma'am. She got that, I think it was type 2 diabetes, and then something wrong with her feet. You know, and she can't holler. She walks with a walker.
Okay. And what about your children? I think you have 6 children. Do you have any contact or relationship with your children?
Well, one, the rest of them, you know, I can't seem to get in touch with her. The only one I got in touch with my baby daughter. She gets in touch with my sister, and then I got the number to call her. Well, she works so much.
All right, Mr. Withers, thank you for talking with me. That's all I had.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I can't find anything in his record alluding to that.
Okay.
Okay.
But I had a question mark next to it, so I wasn't sure about it. Thank you, though.
Sure.
Worked out good. Mr. Withers, I just have one question. I know you're nervous today. You kind of talking a lot.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think I heard any mention of your victim, at least from you. Do you know her name?
Oh, wow. I forgot her name. I forgot her name. I heard this wrong.
So I say that to ask you or inquire, have you taken any victim awareness classes?
No, ma'am.
So have you ever asked to?
No, ma'am.
That might be a good class for you.
Ma'am?
That might be a good class for you. Let me see, we had Mr. Mark Badger on with us. Is he still with us? Mr. Badger, we'd like to hear from you. And as I understand it, you're the victim's cousin?
Yes, ma'am. I'm trying to get in here.
All right, take your time. There you go. Yeah, we see.
I'm here. Okay. Yeah, I'm a cousin, but we was very close. She was raised in the Ferret housing project in Young's. My aunt was a very smart woman. She taught deaf people in classrooms and all. and she was deaf herself. She's highly educated, but she had no other income at all. So what she did was she lived in the projects, so she had money to make ends meet. And she's very familiar with New Orleans and getting around, and all her service there with people there to help her out and all that stuff. So that's why, they was in the projects. And back in those days, the projects were pretty good places to live.
Right. And is there anything else you'd like us to know about how you feel about Mr. Withers' application for clemency?
Yes, ma'am, I do. This is a very sore subject. So I've been in consultation with a good friend about this, and I also been praying a lot about it. And I want to come to this with no animosity, but for justice. And I heard him state that he shot twice, and that's not correct. Because the detective who called me that she was being killed also the one who showed me all the evidence, showed me the forensics, showed me all the stuff. We arrived to the spot where it was at. Okay. There was a neighbor not that far away that heard the shot. So if he wanted to get some help, the neighbor's right there. He heard the gunshots and everything else. He's the one that went to her, and she's still crying out for her mama. And when the ambulance got there, they loaded her up in the gurney. She took her last breath. But all while she was doing it, she was crying for her mama. What's not correct is the shots. He did 6 shots. A shotgun blew the guts out of her side. Her guts were hanging out. And she fell down in the ditch, and he walked over her and put 5 shots of 22 bullets in her head while she's crying out for her mama and begging for her life. So then he left the scene while she's sitting there, still living, still crying. Her guts are hanging on the ground. What kind of person is that? Can they make a do? Can they repent to the Lord? Yes, they can, man. But you know what? Well, I'll keep that to myself. It was 5 shots. He left her alive. I wrote the notes down. Her mama, Aunt Lynette, you understand, Jennifer was her world. That's all she had to connect with. And when she found out that Jennifer was dead, at first she couldn't fathom it. When she found out she was dead, she went totally. In fact, she wound up walking around, barely could see, can't hear, with a rotten potato in her purse. And all they would do was just feed her and keep her comfortable and leave her alone, because her world was destroyed. So my brother Bo came with me to the courtroom, and we see Mr. Withers, and he's not here to see us today because he's dead. My Aunt Lynette, if she's not dead by now, she's very close to it. This is several years back that she was very bad off. My daddy, he's dead. My mama's dead. And it's very hard to see someone get out. And my simple question is this. I think it's okay for him to get out when I see Jennifer again. When he make do for the gunshot wounds to her side and the 5 bullets in her head. I talked to the detective, and she was of the same persuasion. And she led me to believe, and not so many particular words, was he was giving her drugs, so he wanted to turn her. And when she resisted, when he found out she was gay, I think that flared anger in him. That was led to me by the detective. And it's been 24 years now. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to rely too much on that. But he did grab a shotgun, shot her while she's in the vehicle, She rolled out the door on the ground, grabbed another 22 pistol, walked around, and stood over top of her and put 5 shots in the head, in the forehead. You can see all 5 bullets. You have pictures of that?
Mr. Bertrand,
Yes,
we do have those details in our records, so could you wrap it up for us, please, sir?
Okay, yes. So, I think, to me, I think he should serve this full sentence. He's still going to live at the end, and give him a good long time to think about his consequences. He's got a daughter when he gets out. You know, we don't have our cousin anymore. So that's all I got to say. Unless you want to ask me anything, I'll be willing to answer it.
No, sir, we don't have any questions. We appreciate your comments this afternoon. Thank you, sir. Mr. Withers, is there a statement you'd like to make briefly to wrap it up for us?
Ma'am?
Is there a statement you'd like to make briefly to wrap it up?
Yes, ma'am. On the part on me giving drugs, no, that wasn't on my part. I went looking for it. I'm very sorry about what happened. Since I've been in Angola, I have rehabilitated myself. And that's all I can say. I mean, I can't bring her back, but I am sorry.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, I think we're prepared to vote. We'll start with Ms. Jackson.
All right. Mr. Withers, yeah, I do want to commend you for what you have accomplished. Your disciplinary record is excellent. But I do struggle with the fact that you haven't exactly taken full responsibility for the magnitude of the crime. Also, I don't think you've had enough programs. I think you can benefit from some additional programming. You only did Living in Balance 1. You obviously had a serious drug issue, as evidenced by your own statement about being under the influence of crack and then having acquired conviction for drug related activities. I think you need to have both phases of Living in Balance. I also think you need to take victim awareness. So my vote today is going to be to deny, but encourage you to keep working on yourself, keep taking some programs that will help you the next time you appear before the board and will prepare you to be released. My vote today is to deny, but I wish you good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Withers, based upon express opposition from the victim's family, opposition from law enforcement, opposition from the DA's office, and you've only served 23 years for a second-degree murder conviction, which I think is insufficient time, I'm going to deny your request.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Mr. Marabella.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I concur with my colleagues. My vote for the same reasons will be to deny your application today. Good luck to you.
Mr. Freeman.
I also concur to deny, and I really think he needs some victim awareness classes.
All right, Mr. Withers, you received 4 votes to deny your application for clemency, so that's the outcome of today's proceeding. Your application's been denied. Good luck to you, sir.
Right there. Thank y'all.
Warden Falco, that concludes our business at your facility. Thanks for being so accommodating.
A classic Miss Jackson interview, but I gotta give Miss Renatza props there for calling it out. Do you know the victim's name? And he did not. Can you even imagine if that's not more telling than anything, than all of the signals that we have seen in the past? I mean, wow. How is that possible? It gives us insight, pun intended. No, I mean, it gives us insight into just how, yes, psychopathy, I guess this is what it looks like. How do you not know the reason you are in Angola for the rest of your life? You can't forget that. And then Mr. Knotts is like, maybe you could use some victim awareness programs. And it just, it's just, I get they got to use the tools in their toolbox and whatnot, but man, you can't fix that. Maybe he'll learn how to, maybe, I doubt it. We see so many that take all the programs, they show up and they can't even recite one thing they learned in them. And not that it makes a difference in my mind. Anyways, I don't have information to share on this. He's been appealing. That's basically what Richard found, back and forth, back and forth. He's about to turn 68. He's still in Angola. The victim came up and I thought spoke very well. He laid down the facts. He stated exactly how brutal this crime was. And it's nice, you gotta, someone to at least talk on behalf of the victim. The victim is not just gone from, there's someone there, because, the DA won't be there, because there's no point for the DA to be there, because no one's going to vote for him or her for showing up for a nobody. So the relative shows up. A unanimous vote no. Again, I don't have any information, but I did enjoy another Miss Jackson interview. Stop talking. Of course, you have Miss Renata say stop talking or wrap it up. No, wrap it up to the victim. It's like you have one victim here. This is where I get one victim talking. It's a short interview as it is. And guess what? It was the final interview of the day. Now, it was a long day. I think it was like a 7-8 hour day. They're tired, but he's been waiting how many years to talk? Let him talk, Mr. Natsa. I mean, really, is it too much for you to just... I would love to sit across from him and say, Mr. Natsa, I get it. You like to run a tight ship. I get it. You're a boss. But we're talking about victims. We're talking about another minute, another 2 minutes. You can't just let it go. And if you can't let it go, can't you just say, I am so sorry. We have a rule and we have to abide by it. You have a few more seconds. Something. You could say something, but wrap it up. Whew. All right. Thank you, Richard. Richard did provide info on the appeal, but there wasn't, but it doesn't go into the details of the crime, but we did have the victim representing the victim to share that with us, and we can move to the next hearing.